Okay. Ooh, even the lighting is great.
Yeah, we need to make sure that people understand that it's the same day. I'm not wearing the same outfit on different days.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. I'll make them.
Same day. It's literally
let it be known.
Day. Maybe I should take out the scarf. Maybe I should.
I think the makeup.
It's gonna show.
You can't see it now. Okay. So we know how long we've been talking. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Hi.
Hi. Hi. Yo.
Hi guys. Guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your favorite sis Terry. I'm back again with your favorite aunt, Nthabiseng. Okay. Nthabiseng Mokoena, the mental health advocate. So we had decided in one of the videos that we're going to talk about mental health in the corporate space, and how we're going to start it is that the idea that you have about the workspace, the corporate world, the working world, is that transformation, diversity and inclusion, and your own words was a big chunk of it needs to include mental wellness. Yes. And mental wellness. So we need to speak a bit about, we're going to speak a bit about that as to what our ideas and thoughts to people, to companies especially, because a lot of the people that go through mental health issues is not necessarily, like we discussed in the previous video, it's not people that are unemployed and whatever. It's people who are high performing, you know, people who are high performing, people who are doing very well at work, or who are employed and have a job and are making money,
or
but are leading, and they can still experience any kind of mental health, depression, anxiety, and all of those other things, you know. So we're gonna have a bit of a conversation, and to start it off, I'm just gonna say, because I like making myself relatable, right? Like I've said before on this channel, that I'd love to make myself relatable and have a connection between myself and you guys. So when we were strategizing for this video, my story that came up to me about mental health in the working world, I said in the first video that the person I was speaking to from the helpline said I should ask for time off, and then my supervisor gave me time off. But what I omitted from that story was that when I did ask for the time off, it was around month end, and my supervisor was like, wait, when the new month begins, you can take your time off. And then I had to wait like a week. It was that last week of month end, and so I had to wait that time. And in my head I was like, you know, if I had just gone to the doctor, I would have been booked off. But I didn't want to go to the doctor, because that was not it, right? I wanted this person to understand that I called ICAS. I had limited ICAS. Oh
yes, it is.
Yeah, it's ICAS. I called ICAS, and ICAS gave me, they were writing a report. They were going to send me a report and send it to my supervisor. And one of the recommendations was that I take some time off. So I did not even want to make it a go to the doctor and have the doctor book me off so that I can start today. I wanted to tell you as my supervisor, so that you know, and you're like, okay, cool, go. And not tell me about whatever. And in the workspace, people lack that grace, like you were talking about, how to deal, or even grace and the tools of dealing with mental health in the workspace, because it's not like hukula, any other sickness where a person goes to the doctor, they book off today. You don't put that off for, oh, you have flu, it's month end, you'll go off. You go now. Then the doctor books you off now when you have a physical ailment. So it's an illness. You understand what I'm saying?
Oh, an illness is an illness is an illness.
Exactly.
And that's really the beginning of it all, the beginning of the conversation. Is that it's an illness, regardless of whether you can see it or you can't. Because oftentimes people think that illness is only things that you are able to physically feel or see, and it's not necessarily like that, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, even in that moment where productivity holds a far greater position than the people element.
Yeah.
and that's where corporate fails.
Corporate, like a lot of institution.
And so when we say corporate, we don't just mean like the private sector.
Yeah.
We mean the institution of working.
Even public institutions.
Yeah, public institutions working in this country, in the world, and how you need to show up, where productivity holds a far greater position than people. And this is what COVID taught us, that it should always be the other way around, right? Because the world had to stop for a moment. The world had to stop because people were far greater. And we needed to understand that having people alive was better than having people
dead,
sick or dead.
Yeah,
it was better.
It was
because if you're not dealing with that thing when it happens and when that person comes to you, and this is another thing about this is why I say it must be involved in the transformation, diversity, and inclusion conversations, because those are generally conversations had by leaders in any business. Those are conversations that are had by leaders, right? And so when you become a leader in other corporates, is that you go on certain courses. You go on certain courses about people management, and the big thing about people management is that you need to understand the wellness of your own people.
Yeah,
it's a big deal, because there's no way you're gonna have a productive team if mentally or emotionally people are not well. You can't show up as your best self, because there are many other symptoms and things that we don't talk about when it comes to mental health that could be a factor because of a certain illness that you have. Like with depression, a lot of the times people don't speak about the memory loss that comes with it. Right, the memory loss that comes with it, and I'm not talking about memory loss of forgetting like your friend who's been your friend for like 15 years. I'm talking about like the simple day-to-day tasks, like things that you do. Like you could literally forget a task that you normally do at work, like all the time, like a task that you need to do and your job requires you to do. You could literally forget to do that. Like you could go through a day without remembering to do that,
or
like,
how to do it,
right? And so we those are the elements that we don't talk about. So when someone says, I need some time off, I need some time off to go readjust, I need some time off to go reevaluate, I need some time off to rest, I need that time off to figure out where I'm at, to rest, to not be anxious about not showing up as the best version of myself. There's so many things attached to it, right? But there are a lot of things that we don't speak about, like the memory loss, the lack of sleep, the lack of appetite, the oversleeping, the erratic sleep, like I really want to nap at like 1 p.m.
At the office. Like
I'm really struggling. I really just want to nap. But you can't, because this is a work environment. You need to show up in a certain way, and so when somebody who's a leader to you is unable to hold space for you because his numbers are far greater and more important than my well-being, that is not an environment I want to be part of.
Neither do I.
Like that is definitely not an environment that I want to be. And I think a lot of these organizations need to relook and rework their culture, because the big thing about culture is how your people feel when they are in your space.
And a lot of these corporates and organizations throughout the world, not even specific to South Africa, throughout the world, on paper, they're perfect. Even with our own constitution, it is the world's best constitution.
On the pillars of the organization, it's what they stand for. But is it really what they practice, right? Which is often like something we need to constantly question, right? But if you're working for an environment that is not open and honest, truly about that, and there's absolutely no way you're going to change culture or have a culture unless your people are involved.
Yes.
Because culture is people.
Yes.
The people drive the culture.
Exactly.
Right? And so if the people are not well and the people are struggling, what kind of culture are you building? What are you building on? What is your foundation?
Yes.
What are you building on? Because if the environment doesn't allow me to say I'm not okay, do I really want to be in that environment? And does that environment maybe not contribute to a lot of my anxieties?
Yeah. Also, Nthabi, it's like, okay, it doesn't what we see as employees make sense, especially to people in management positions. Yes, we know you have targets that you need to meet and all of those things. But what we see from an employee level is, if you took care of me, do you know how much more I could give you? No,
absolutely. So
and that's a general thing across, even in relationships, outside of work. If you took care of people, do you know how much more they could give you by virtue of them being well taken care of and being happy?
So this is why there's probably a saying that goes, people leave leaders, not roles. People leave leaders, not roles. Because
and people leave companies. I mean, leave managers, not companies.
Yes. People leave because of... So you have to understand that sometimes organizations have a certain culture that they've decided, this is our culture, this is our field, this is what we want to push. So this is our aim for our people, right? But the people that you put in positions of leadership are the ones that are then going to be the people that facilitate this culture. And if you have the wrong person in the wrong position, the facilitation of culture, because there are leaders that are amazing and that have the technical skill, but don't have the people element, the soft skills of dealing with people, right? They're amazing technical leaders in their skill, but they don't have the people element.
They must go lead bots.
Right? That's also an option. But I mean, right? And so... And maybe that's where the gap is.
So do you think that when we're having a diversity and inclusion, transformation, and all of those other conversations, okay, I want us to now apply it practically for the people watching. There are people who are watching who are in leadership positions, who are watching this video, who are employees, employers, whatever, different functions and different roles in the organization. What is the person watching is like, okay, so then what do you guys suggest would be a simple way of introducing this mental health talk or mental health advocacy in the workplace or mental health structures? So in what I'm thinking, and tell me what you're thinking, what I'm thinking is that in the workspace or in the working world, in the office, or now both virtual and going to the office, but in the company, what needs to happen is that when you hire, like you're saying, people, leaders are the custodians of the culture, they're the facilitators of the culture. We need to be not cognizant, but we need to be intentional as the company. The company needs to be intentional in them training these leaders, for example, taking people to courses that teach them about mental health and how to support others with mental health. That's a skill you should acquire and learn. And when you can't do it, well, you shouldn't be like being a therapist, because now you're not going to do it well.
Absolutely.
But facilitate some of it and then suggest, see these people, call here.
Companies are already going on, for years they've been doing this team building thing, right? Your team building, and you have these activities that require group work and teamwork and team effort, right? Why not have a professional come in and speak to your team about those issues? Have a conversation as a team. Have a conversation as a team, and right? And so, and I mean, a lot of times people fear the fact that I'm gonna share this part of myself with this person who might later on use it against me, right? And that's a big part of why people don't share certain experiences in the workplace, right? But I think, you know, these team building sessions where you invite a professional to come and have these conversations, like come and have these conversations and say, these are the things that are available to our people. These are the what can I call them? the options available to our people to get
Tools,
the help that they
options,
need,
yeah.
and regardless of how you're feeling or whatever. And I think in that way you're opening up the conversation and saying there is, well, I'm facilitating this conversation because I need it to be an ongoing thing. It's not going to be a thing that's achieved overnight. Absolutely nothing can be achieved overnight, especially when you're dealing with like a group of people.
Yes.
You can't use a blanket approach as well.
Yes.
That's also another thing about leadership, is that like you can't, there's absolutely no way you can use a blanket approach about leading people, because we're so different.
We're so different,
right?
yeah.
But I think in those little elements, spaces, when you have a team meeting, invite somebody from OD, like these OD organizational development.
Okay.
These people are actually trained psychologists.
Okay.
They are trained in these things. Like have them in your meetings so that your people know who OD is.
And you know,
put a face to it.
And also, you know, now that you're saying it, it's also not like the company needs to transform in such a painful, like, oh my god, now we must go hire psychologists. Like what you're saying, there are people in the organization who are trained, you know. Use those people, repurpose them,
right? And so have your meetings, invite somebody from OD in your meeting.
And some people also in HR are qualified, you know, because they're like industrial psychologists.
So
they did industrial psychology. So there's an opportunity to take that kind of person for a course to extend them over into being able to speak to people, or, you know, if they want to, that's if they want to.
So leadership,
but you know,
not,
there's things you can do.
So leadership is not just productivity. Leadership is not just numbers. Leadership is also very much, a big part of leadership is people.
It's people
because those are the people that are getting you the numbers. Those are the people that are meeting the targets. Those are the people that you are, and as soon as you're not managing them, I think that the word manage, I struggle with it a lot. I would prefer leader, because leaders inspire. Right? Like managers manage, you know, every day. Like leaders inspire, leaders motivate, leaders ask questions like, what's your next step? How do I show up for you? For your next step. For your next step. How do I show up for you in this moment?
I am somebody that is speaking of social justice and social consciousness, and I am aware that the corporate world does not exist in a cocoon or in a bubble. It exists in the society that we already live in. So chances are whatever happens outside of the corporate world comes into the corporate world because it is brought in by the people who are living out in society. Why I'm saying this is because the stats that I was reading in the previous video by SADAG, one of them say that one of these organizational places where people come in for counseling, a large majority of the people who did come in were women, and a very small percentage were men. So when we look at organizations, a lot of the people that are in these leadership roles are men, right? And we already know the stats of how men are unable to have emotional conversations or get emotional, you know what I'm saying? So it becomes a bit of tricky. So could that also be what happens in society? Could it also be a contributing factor of what happens in the organizations?
Absolutely, and I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. Firstly, because of the fact that racially, South Africa is the majority of the people that exist here are black people, right? But our corporates don't represent our society. Because our leaders are not really a representation of how the society is set up, right? And so a lot of the times you walk into a room and it's like literally like you can't even find a person that looks like you. You can't even find a person that looks like you in leadership, period. Like people that sit in Exco or Menco, like there's nobody that looks like me, right? And so and oftentimes it's hard for women, it's hard for black women, because you have to understand that black women, we are the bottom of the barrel. And I'll tell you why. Because when it comes to race, so for black women is that you can never be the oppressor. You're always the oppressed. You're always the oppressor in when it comes to gender, when it comes to race, right? And so for us it's harder. Because the corporate space doesn't represent like the societal environment, right? That's number one. But also, this environment was not built with you in mind.
Yes.
This is not an environment, like, they didn't have you in mind, right? They didn't have you in mind. They also didn't have you in mind to be educated. They didn't have you in mind to be educated, black, and outspoken. They didn't have you in mind. They didn't have you in mind when these things. So when you come into a space and you're that person who's educated and outspoken and who speaks up against injustices and who speaks transformation and who challenges the status quo to that level, is that you're disrupting the cycle of life. You're disrupting the cycle of life. True. You're disrupting.
True.
And so because you're disrupting the cycle of life, one would mean that you either have a target on your back, because babes, because we're the ones blessing you with this role. Nobody's saying you're bringing a skill that we're paying for.
Yeah.
Nobody's saying that.
No.
People are like, you must be grateful for what you have and what you're being given. And that's where it ends, right? And so there's absolutely no way you can not struggle mentally in an environment that continues to tell you you do not belong here. We didn't have you in mind. And I mean, people don't have to say it, but the microaggressions exist continuously, and you see them, right? You see them in who gets the roles. You see them in who has to work twice as hard. You see them you see the microaggressions are there,
ma'am,
right? And so you even see it in like when you have an opinion, that people are shocked that you're brave enough to stand up and have the opinion that you have. And so the microaggressions exist, and you can't see the microaggressions because you are not the one that is being oppressed by those aggressions. Right?
You know, and all of this conversation now ties into the bigger conversation of representation, of being represented. When you feel represented, then you will feel seen, and you will feel like you want to speak up and address mental health issues and all. You know what I'm saying? And like you're saying, you being the one that's outspoken, that also takes a toll on your mental health. You know, it takes a toll on working hard and getting passed for jobs. And as you're speaking, I'm thinking about being a queer person as well in the working world. In as much as you're like, as a woman, you as a black woman, you are the most oppressed. And I'm like, actually, queer people are under black women. Right under black women is queer people. Because I know myself. I was brilliant at my job, right? I am a brilliant person in the way that I think and in what I bring to the table. And the number of times that I got passed over for a job, and then the number of times I became a caricature. I became that person that you discuss makeup and clothing and fashion with, and you never really saw me as somebody that could apply for maybe a supervisor job and get it, a leadership job and get it. And the number of times I've had to sit and be bypassed. You know, I have had an executive head tell me that my case study was actually the best that she saw out of everybody's. However, she's worried that if I do get this position, how will other people in the company take me when I go to meetings and on other campuses off-site, of our campus, when I go to meetings with people that don't know me physically and have not seen me, how will they take me when they first see me in my bright lipsticks and bright nail polish? And she ended it there, and silently she was saying, and for that reason, that is why I'm giving it to the next, not even the next best, the next person. This person that's just going to physically fits the role. But actually, your case study was the best. And those things take a toll on you. You know? And if you and for the longest time, only now do I feel like I should have addressed that. I should have taken that up. You know what I'm saying? I should have reported that. It was a very homophobic thing for her to say at the time. And this was a person who was a leader, an executive head, educated person you would think is liberal, who you would think is liberal, but isn't. So if those things, if there are injustices and things like that, what more in mental health discussions?
Yeah,
when you
and
get into that kind of office and you tell the person I'm not okay, she's gonna be like, well, honey, barking, put your big girl panties on. And you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
it's nuanced, and it's connected.
It's so nuanced because even, and I was having this conversation with a friend, even being the first of can be such a tough one in corporate when you're the first black person to either like sit on that board or sit in this forum, or you're the only female, or you're the only black female, or like all of those only things elements, we never really speak about it because so for a normal person who's just like there to work and whatever, and who's not privy to those conversations and sitting in those rooms, is that we often think if Nthabiseng is sitting in that room and she looks like me, you know, her objective should always be about me and my story, and we forget that someone's voice can be like overshadowed because they're the only one in the room, and you're competing with 9 other voices that don't look like you, that don't understand your experience, they don't know your lived experience, they don't know a person that looks like you outside of you sitting in this room, like they've never interacted with anyone. So your voice being the only one in the room, or there being 2 voices out of 10 can be so tough, and I mean, even in those roles as leaders, like where you are the first of whatever, it can be such a tough thing because you're breaking barriers that have never been broken or challenged, or
can be tough.
and can be tough, and that will take longer for us to get to the transformation part of it. But I always say, you must be deliberate. You have to understand that the transformation conversation and work is not black women's work. It's not black people's work.
It's not queer people's work.
It's not my work. Racism is not my work. It's not my work, right? And so if we're gonna transform spaces, you need the person on the other side who's privileged enough to be able to transform those spaces deliberately, and the culture must be the ones making sure that they push for that. It's not really just for me to be because
you can't appoint yourself. You can't like, oh, okay, there's no black people on this board, let me go appoint myself. They must appoint you. They must create space for you. You know,
there must be like a deliberate way of doing it.
Yes.
Right? Because it's not. I can't transform a space that won't allow me to transform it. Like
exactly.
I can't. There's no way.
And the reason why now this conversation has broadened to now racism and sexism and being black and all of that is because those are the contributing factors to mental health.
They do contribute.
When you find a lot of black people dealing with mental health issues, and we can only speak for black people because we're black and we have a black experience, not only, but because we have a black experience. You understand what I'm saying?
I'm definitely speaking from a black woman's perspective.
I'm also definitely speaking from a black, queer, trans perspective because that is my lived experience. You know what I'm saying? So we can speak from that experience because we know it and we've lived it, and we can advocate for it, and we can. And when we say that this is our mental health issues are affected by 1, 2, 3, then you can't even second guess us to say, are you sure? Really? No, guys, I feel like you are pushing it. No, we're telling you the truth. Dealing with my story is that I started to transform in the office, which was a great thing for me. But as I say, on paper, but no discrimination and whatever, right? But in the real world that I was living in, you could see that people couldn't really do or say anything because they remembered the policy. And they knew who they were dealing with. You were dealing with somebody that knows the ish, right? So I would deliberately, every day, I would park furthest away from the door, from the parking, I would walk in my dresses and my skirts in the way that I looked, with my head up high, and walk into the building because I knew I was the only person that looked like me. I was the only person that looked like me, and I knew people were going to look, and I did not want that every day. There were days that I just wanted to be like everybody else and disappear and enter moya into the building.
Because sometimes you feel like you're carrying the world on your shoulders.
You know what I'm saying?
And you're just like, I really no longer want to be this person who is the loudest about this thing. That is, I'm tired.
I'm tired. So, and for me, it was that. There were days where I was like, I don't want people looking at me. And I'd have my friends, my colleagues and friends, like, they'd be like, how do you do that? I'm like, how do I do what? People stare at you and you don't cower. You don't, working with Twitter, you don't fold. You know? You never fold. I don't, because folding in the conversation, what it means is that if people stare at you that much, they intimidate you, and then you cower into yourself, and you hunch and you look down, and the more you look at me, the higher I go. The higher I go, the higher I see a bit, you know, and it's a mental thing, and I'm like, shoulders, because I must remind myself, shoulders,
back,
shoulders, head, chin, up, you know, in my head, because you're staring. And this person that I'm walking with, I'm unconsciously, I'm not seeing this, but they are observing me, you know, and they'll watch me, and they'll wait for the minute for me to be like, it got to her, right? And it doesn't. And I go, but I'm like, yes, it doesn't in that moment because I don't want to show you in the moment. Yeah, but when I get to my desk and I'm like, it gets to me. I'm tired of being that person that is shoulders, head up, walk, and I walk with so much conviction, with so much pride in myself, because I must represent me, let alone the community, me. I must represent myself. And you know what would beat people, right? Is that they would expect this, I'm doing this for show, right? Or this is an act. And then when people say, no man, mutu on the style. Regardless of what it's a man wearing dresses, this person is stylish. That's just it. And people will come up and like, I appreciate your style. That's all. I've been watching you, and listen, I have to. Into that thing. Had I looked shabby, friend, in the dresses, then it'd be like, yeah, with that unveiled. So now, more than women, I must, and this is what also black people do in the workspace, you work 10 times as harder. Yeah. Just to be normal. You work 10 times as harder.
The equilibrium that they've set for you.
I can't have an off day when I go to the office and be like, no, I must always look good. I must always look good because I'm representing myself. I'm representing my community, and I want, when you talk about me, to we have a trans person in the office. Oh, and she dresses so well. She dresses especially for a fat person as well, because I have all of these intersections, right? Sure. I exist at all of these intersections. I'm fat. I'm trans. Yeah, I'm black. You dress
nice. So my favorite is that you dress nicely for a fat person, for your body. You dress nice for your body. I dress nice, period. In whatever body I occupy. Babes, don't get it twisted. Go back into my profile. Go back.
No,
just nice for right. So it's not even a I dress nicely for my body. In whatever body I occupy, I dress nicely.
You understand?
It's a like, you're so pretty for a big. Babes, don't doubt that at any shape or size.
Depressed. And you know, microaggressions again. You walk into the space and other people will appreciate you. Oh, you're so dressed. You're so nicely dressed. And then you'll have women look at you like, pretend. And I'm like, no, babe.
Pretend.
I'd have those days, and I'd be the person that I didn't want to be. Hey, no, Luna to something Luna. Go admit or Baba Tibang Bara in a bed. wa re nyetsa ke re ke ya lenyetsa eo yona ke fact ebile a re tlo etsa eng ke lenyetsa without even making an effort ha ke tsa effort gona ke ai a le ke miracle what I'm saying ke lenyetsa and I don't want to be that person but how tell it how say
ngabe ni chance ngabe niki
why wanna tell so I'm like fela not something li admit gore luna
mabatela ukuthi bayakwazi ukuthi
but
one more
but it's so hard
the
to
culture,
keep that up.
yeah.
It's so hard and when you include that in your my mental health issues at work, it's those things being the only. And I remember saying to someone, if like oh, we're talking about representation, right? And the person was trying to throw a be glad if there is a black person. I'm like,
oh,
no way.
On where are we living?
And I was like, no way. I was like, imagine if I saw somebody like me who was a openly trans woman sitting on the exco. At the town hall. Do you know how represented I would feel? There were Indian men, Indian women, white women, black men and black women on the board. Do you understand, without even saying it, how you are represented by those people? And you choose your person out of those that most represents you.
And that's the thing, like human nature is that people want to be heard, seen,
exactly,
and valued.
So even on that stage, you want to be seen, heard on the stage.
People want to be seen, heard, and valued.
And the person was like, oh, no, but what if people aren't out and they don't want to be out? That's the problem. That's the problem you should be asking yourself. Why? Why aren't they living their lives as their authentic self? And I'm not going to take
because
that.
people are not.
People are hiding. People are hiding.
And the reason is because people can't live their authentic self because of the fact that what other people, how other people show up for them or the lack thereof, right? And so how you treat me because I'm out, or how you treat me. I also don't know about the word out, because I feel like people don't owe you that.
Yes.
People just like, they don't owe you being out. They don't owe you, like, people are not heterosexual and they just wake up and like, hi world, me, you know what, I'm hetero, you know. No, so people don't owe you that, but for me I really do appreciate people that own their spaces like that and say I'm not gonna compromise who I am to make you feel comfortable. Not me. Right? I'm not doing that. Right? And so transformation is such a nuanced thing, because oftentimes as a black woman you show up and you're like, no, black women are not represented enough. Black trans women are not represented enough
at all.
They're not represented enough. Like it's such a nuanced thing that, like, there's so many elements to it, right? And so somebody actually explained it. I went to a transformation talk, conversation, and somebody had explained it so well. I'm not sure if I can remember it from the top of my head, but they said that inclusion looks like, so it's inclusion, diversity, and transformation. We might have to edit it out so that I can say the right thing. I might say wrong, but we might have to edit it out and then I say the right thing. And
also, transformation, diversity, and inclusion is taking everybody with.
That's literally what it is.
Taking everybody with, able-bodied, disabled, black,
exactly
white,
what it is.
Fat, skinny, gay, trans, in, out the closet, whatever. You had religion, Muslim, Hindu, Christian, Mazozi, Sangoma, not everybody. 60 million people being able to work at your corporation.
It's also such an important thing for our country as well. It's an important thing for our, like, it's such an important, like, which other country do you know has like 11 official languages? Like, right? Like, which other country has the amount of tribes that we have, right? And so and for me, if that doesn't speak to the I wish that kind of diversity would translate into our corporate spaces, right? Because even the religion element of it, we have, like, spirituality is such a broad thing for us, as Africans, as South Africans, it's so broad.
Yeah,
it's
like
so
I look at
broad.
That. We are so. If we knew how perfect we looked, you know, we'd be so great.
Yeah, you
because
have
you
such
look
a
at us, we're like, we live in a country. Today, I can wake up and go to a mosque tomorrow, and nothing's gonna happen. I can choose to visit a mosque and be a guest at a mosque, and nothing will happen. My Indian friend can come to Umkiti Wam,
right?
Kasande Methodist for a service, you know.
So,
and I'm like, we live in the country, and in other spaces, people are literally killing each other for those kind of things, and we live, and we're able to live with each other. It's just that we need to tolerate each other more, and there's more we need to do. On the Constitution, we look great, right? Like LGBT rights are included in whatever, but on the streets it's something different, and we always talk about this. Women's rights, gender-based violence. You know what I'm saying?
Men with microphones.
Men.
You know.
Men with no, stop. You know what I'm saying? On paper we look great, and in some aspects as well we are great and we look great. We just need to do more, and transformation is uncomfortable.
It is.
Because it means having people who are different from you in the room.
And being okay with yourself.
And being okay with yourself.
Because it's not about being okay with the other person. In fact, it's not about being okay with the other.
I love this conversation.
It's being okay with yourself and understanding that regardless of who this person sitting next to me believes in and knows and understands and sees in themselves, it does not compromise who I am in my being.
Yeah. And you know, friend, in our lives as well, that is happening. Like on my contact list or in my friends, because of work and the world that we live in, I have a Muslim man as a friend. And I'm trans and Isangoma and whatever, and we're able to get along and have a relationship. You know what I'm saying? I have a white person as a friend. You know what I'm saying? I have an Indian guy as a friend. You know what I'm saying? I have a colored woman as a friend. You know, there are all of these diverse groups of people who are different and who practice different religions. That when I see it, I'm like, oh, this is beautiful. You know, one of my friends had a, I hope I'm pronouncing it right, a nikah service. Nikah, and it's an Indian wedding type of service. And I went there and it was so stunning. Yeah. And it was so beautiful to observe.
They also have such beautiful ceremonies.
You understand what I'm saying? And in the same respect and breath I was able to go to my friend's wedding, she can come to my kitty and sit there and be present and love it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I mean, the fact that we're so different is, and I don't have to get why you choose what you choose.
No. I just have to get you as a human being.
Yeah, I don't have to get you, but I can also respect that you made that choice.
Yes.
Because religion and spirituality, such a personal journey.
Exactly.
Like you know? For me, it's such a personal journey to the point where, for me, I don't have to prove to anyone why I choose Christ.
You know what I'm saying?
It's not my business.
It's not your business.
I'm not in the business of convincing you. I'm not in the business. That is not my portion. That is not my ministry. I am not in the business of convincing you why I love going to church. Why God is such an important piece in my life. Why I choose Christ and what. Right? I don't. But I also don't expect you to question me and bring up things that will build doubt in my belief.
Yes.
Because I don't believe in that. Like, do not build doubt about like what this says or whatever. Right? But
if you question, you'll question it on your own when you are ready to
Google the answers yourself. If that's, but I have to respect the choices that you make for your life because it's such a personal, such a personal journey.
That's so true. When you say that, I have a friend who is a black woman who is a Muslim, right?
My dad's Muslim.
Your dad's Muslim.
I was raised by a Muslim dad.
My friend is Muslim, and yet when she comes to me and I don't dismiss her, because I'm understanding the how nuanced and personal spirituality is, and goes beyond a label. Or you're Muslim and therefore you should act like this.
That's all you are.
You know, and that's all you are.
That's all you are.
I'm able to hold space for her when we talk about and I'm not saying, but you're Muslim, you shouldn't be talking about that. No, kimotu. You know, she's a person having whatever experience.
Who's probably lost people that she knew and loved, and so her understanding of what that might look like could be different.
Exactly.
Could be different then and now. Could be totally two different things.
Speaking of spirituality, friend, now we digress, but it's part of mental. One of my things, my favorite thing, and this is not even to sound morbid, right? One thing that I'm working towards is that by the time I reach the end of my life, I want my funeral service to be a 12-hour affair. I want Methodists to have a service.
Okay.
I want Catholics to have a service. Ke batla dizangoma dikete. Ke batla mapostolo akene. Ke batla.
Do you know all these people? Like, do you,
I do.
Do you have these circles ready and able?
Yes,
okay.
I do have these circles.
Okay.
And I'm kind of starting to move. COVID disturbed me. I was gonna do it then, but I do have these circles that I want to move in. You know, I want it to be that affair, and I want people to know, it's the same thing, just done differently. It's the same because Mundumbengi, I can see the relation. I can see the relation. I want that. That's my. It might not happen, but that's my ambition. That's my dream. Is that I want as many diverse groups of people to be in attendance and in celebration, and for people to not just see me only as a sangoma and a trans woman and whatever, but have this like a 12-hour affair to me. Start in the morning. Yo, from 7, like how I loved Aretha Franklin's service. It was 12 hours. It was 12 hours, but it went on. It was a spiritual affair.
Yeah, it was.
It was a spiritual, and I love that. And that is what I would want for myself, because I'm like, we live in that world. It's that expansive. And you should open up yourself to be that expansive as well, and have all of these diverse groups of people to come and say, we know this person lying here, and it's a group of trans women. We know this person like Ibe Matahwa Anwang Mbamba Kosplutombar. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, that's just my crazy wish and thing. So this conversation was diverse. It was very diverse and inclusive of many aspects. Yes. But then it just shows you the cornerstone of mental health lies on many things. It's interlinked to many experiences. It's interlinked to, it's not detached from who you are as a person. Whoever you are, you carry that into the workspace, space. And whatever informs this person is what will contribute to this person's mental health. So a psychologist cannot come here and tell you and say, you will only experience mental illness if you are this and this and this. No. It happens to all of us. It's on a spectrum.
You'd have to leave them. You'd have to leave that therapist if they can do that.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So anyway, thank you for this conversation. This is another 5-hour conversation. We just had. This was a lot, and we were just doing one video.
Yeah, I really appreciated this.
I appreciated this.
I had a lot of aha moments, even while I was speaking and while you were speaking.
Right? And I hope you guys also have, and share on the comments below. I really love doing this, and
I enjoyed it.
And one of my challenges this year was I wanted to be more vulnerable, and this was me being vulnerable and sharing myself. And I'm so happy.
I'm happy for you.
Yeah.
I'm happy for you, really. I'm happy for myself for that, because I went in.
You went in, right?
This is yeah, I did. I went in, but I went in, and I think what I got from it was a sense of relief. Yeah. Like I got a sense of relief from it. And I didn't realize that vulnerability can do that for you. But I got a sense of
yes, because you're like
yeah. It's like
less tense.
I don't have to show up in a way that like I can control my narrative for myself. Like I can control my narrative for myself. I don't have to show up in a way that other people expect me to show up. And I think that's what today gave me.
Yeah. I'm thankful to you. Thank you for coming. Thank you for bringing your authentic self. Thank you for bringing your whole self. Really appreciate you.
Thank you.
I can't wait to see you do big things.
I can't wait either.
I really cannot wait to see you do big things in the world. And yeah, let's go get this. This video will come up, and it's, well, the beauty about it is going to come up weeks from now, and then we're going to be able to see it, you know, and like, oh, what were we saying? Because now we're in the moment, and it's beautiful.
Okay.
I'd love for us to experience the same.
I would love to experience
the same thing.
Yeah.
A week or two, yes. A week or 3 later, and I'm, oh, okay, look at us, we were so vulnerable, you know, and that's what I love about recording as well, but it's not immediate.
Yeah.
And so it takes a while before the video goes up, and if it's a great one, you still feel it. Oh, that was great, I love that. So yeah, it's gonna come up in a while. So anyway, thank you. That was our last video with Nthabiseng, but she will come back again one day, and we will talk, you know, to that fun, get to know me. Thank you for coming. Yeah, Chef Far and Wine. See you in the next video. Love you.